Good afternoon. Welcome to the July 14th committee meetings. First item, approval of the minutes of June 15, 2023.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded by Ms. Honeycutt. Any questions, deletions, additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I'll like to reflect that Reverend Middleton and Mr. Pryor are both here on Zoom. And I guess y'all can see, okay, y'all can see them up there, so that's great. Thank you. Second item, resolutions, approve Gullah
Move for
Geechee.
approval.
Moved by Mr. Moody and Mr. Boykin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Number 3, CARTA update. Mr. Mitchum?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Always a pleasure to be with you. This is my quarterly update for you, so I'm going to try to be very brief, but happy, as always, to answer any questions you might have. I want to start with some very good news. We did receive a discretionary FTA grant for $25.9 million for the Shipwatch Square Transit Center. That's the vacant lot sitting next to the library, between the library and the county services building. So that will be a 15,000 square foot facility. We did switch out, if you remember, we previously talked about trying to accommodate a police precinct for the city of North Charleston on the second floor. Never could quite get the funding worked out with the city for those police function pieces that we can't fund with transit dollars. So we switched that out for workforce. As you know, we operate the workforce training for the region on Hanahan Road in lease space, so we'll be able to transfer a good bit of that to this particular facility. In addition, it did come with some workforce training dollars specifically aligned towards CDL, which is a big need in our region and will continue to be a big need as the port continues to grow and we continue to see those baby boomer truck drivers retiring. So this is a way in which we can help facilitate replacing some of them. In addition to that, it does have a training component attached to our battery electric buses and bus drivers as well, which are CDL drivers. Also includes 7 battery electric buses. Those are buses we'll need to be phasing in over the next few years. So our fleet is in what they call a state of good repair. We've come a long way, as y'all know, with chasing these discretionary grants and being successful. We had the oldest fleet in the country when we took over CARTA, and now we are in a status of state of good repair. We do have some Telluride vehicles, the smaller vans and smaller vehicles that are coming in now to replace some of those that reached their useful life, but we're on track with our fleet replacement plan. So all things are going well in that regard. Does also include a couple of en-route fast charges that we won't need initially, but over time, as those buses get a little age on them and those batteries degrade a little bit, we'll do a little bit of charging when they have that layover there anyway. So keeps them out there a lot longer. Also wanted to share some good news. We have completed a transition with our contract provider. We just selected National Express to take over contract operations for the fixed route, Telluride, and the maintenance. And those of you who are on CARTA board know we've been struggling a little bit with performance with our previous contractor. So, we just took the position, if you're not going to perform, we've got to replace you. So that's what we've done. I'm pleased to report our contractor is doing well. At only 13 days into it. I had a conference call with them today, and doing exactly what they're supposed to do. We did have a meeting with them last week. They had an event for the employees. They did transition all the employees from the bus drivers and maintenance over to the new contract, with a couple of exceptions. We had a couple of drivers who retired that were planning to retire anyway. But so far everything is working well. But the CEO, the COO, and a bunch of other O's showed up, showing their commitment to us here in Charleston. So we're very excited about this. Reliability is extremely important. If we're going to ask people to take the bus to work and to use the bus to get to those essential appointments, it's important that we maintain a schedule and we're there when they expect us to be there. So we think this is going to address a few issues that we've had and get us back on track and get us in a position to be able to build greater ridership. A couple other activities are underway. We are doing a a downtown transit study. Obviously, there's a lot changing on the peninsula. We have a lot of ridership on the peninsula. Have the opportunity for greater ridership on the peninsula. So one of the things we wanted to look at was how we can enhance what we have there, maybe fine tune it a little bit, some of the existing service, as well as expand service in the future on the peninsula to take into consideration a lot of the apartment complexes that are being built and some of the offices are being built that are not currently served. So we're pretty much looking at the whole peninsula plus some of those areas that are in development phases. So we're taking into considerations what's going to happen there so that we can be in a position to be able to serve those folks as they come into those locations. We anticipate being completed in December of 2023 with some recommendations from the consultants. We've got some outreach that's ongoing. I think we're probably close to 2,000 surveys that we've received from people telling us what they like about the service, what it doesn't do for them, what they'd like to see it do. So we'll be coming back and having conversations about how we tweak the service on the peninsula, maybe enhance it a little bit going forward. Also excited, we're doing a rebrand of CARTA, so you'll start to see that rolling out. We're kind of doing it as a soft rollout, simply because if you try to switch everything out all at one time and do all that, it's fairly expensive, and we don't like to waste money. We got to stretch it as far as we can. So you'll start to see it on the buses and in different places. It will take us a little bit of time to transition all the signs, but that was a big part of the reason for doing it. Those of you seeing those CARTA signs for a long time, we haven't really replaced them since the beginning, so some of them aren't very reflective anymore. They were dark green, so in a lot of areas, particularly the suburban areas, they tended to blend in with trees, and so every once in a while drivers were passing people by because they weren't familiar with that particular route and they just didn't see the sign of the person. So much more bright colors, and we had some good feedback and input from the drivers and folks who ride the buses. So real pleased with how that's going to look, and think it's going to make a big difference and increase safety and rider visibility for us. Moving on to the LCRT, we got a lot going on there, but one of the things we are doing is the transit-oriented development community workshops currently going on. As you know, we're looking at that whole corridor and looking at transit-oriented development as a way in which to enhance the ridership that can use the system, plus just provide some guidance, particularly in the city of North Charleston, for that redevelopment of Rivers Avenue we know is going to occur. So that process is ongoing, and we expect to finish that probably early next year, depending on what kind of input we get and what kind of, we know we'll have some changes in North Charleston with leadership, so it'll take us a little bit of time to get them sort of plugged in once they come on board. So, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but bottom line is things are going pretty well at CARTA, and we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Mitchum? Rob? Mr.
I don't have a... Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank Mr. Mitchum. I've had the pleasure of serving on the CARTA board for my time here, and just want to say that, I would echo, I think some big things are going on. What with Low Country Rapid Transit, which is a transformative project, with the success in getting the grant to get Shipwatch Square done, and I just also want to just commend his leadership and in making some decisive actions to get the reliability we need in the basic services that we provide. Can't underscore how important that is, and was happy that was the direction we took when we were facing those challenges. And we just said, the citizens of this county deserve better, and we made it happen. So glad for the direction, and we'll continue to make sure that continues happening as we move forward.
That's great. Anyone else? Mr. Kaprowski?
I want to also thank you for, like Rob said, I want to ask, has there been any increase in usage this summer from Mount Pleasant to Isle of Palms?
Yes, sir. Actually, we've seen an increase this summer, so we'll come back and talk about the numbers there at the end of the summer, as always, and have that discussion about whether we continue to do that. But it is growing. The challenge with services like that, any service that we put in, it takes a while. We do a lot of social media and all that sort of stuff, but we have such a wide mixture of folks who use the system. It's really word of mouth. So, I tell folks we can't really pilot something for 6 months and determine success. It really takes us about a year. And with that particular situation, because you start and stop and it's just for that period of time, it can be a little bit challenging, but yeah, the numbers are up. We're doing much better than last year. Of course, the weather's been helpful too. We haven't had many rainy days on the weekend, so it's going in the right direction. But we'll have a report back at the end of the summer, and the board will have a conversation about whether that's something one will continue to try to do. And if so, I think we start looking at making a couple connections from the transit center, so that we can sort of feed that service, not just the parking areas adjacent to where we're at now in Mount Pleasant, but maybe bringing a few folks from North Charleston from the transit center and making that connection for them.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mitchum, thank you for being here, and I'll echo Mr. Werman's comments about the actions. I'm going to the financials, so that's where I live. The Shipwatch Square, I'm loud. The Shipwatch Square grant, that's fantastic. Does that cover the entire project, or is there going to be additional funds needed to cover that project?
It does require a match. Okay. So we will be using sales tax dollars to match that, which we would have matched the buses anyway when we replaced those. So it's not reflected in the budget you're looking at tonight because it occurred after the board approved that. And we will come back and revise the budget with the board before we begin the fiscal year. Keep in mind our fiscal year is October to September, but because we have to go to all the member governments, we have to start making the rounds now to be able to get through that process. So our budget that we come here with today is never the budget exactly on October 1. So we'll come back and amend that based on the schedule. We have to do some environmental work and some additional engineering work to get to the point where we can go to construction. So you'll see some of those dollars show up in this year's budget when it gets revised, and the rest will be in next year's budget.
The proposed budget, there were a couple line items. Local contributions, there were $65,000, and state mass transit funds were $465,000 last year. Those went away. Any explanation for that?
Yeah, and you get the award. I wanted to see who was going to pick up on that mass transit from the state. Yeah, and that's actually something that one of my ideas. I participate with the other transit agencies on a state association, and a lot of times I feel like we're probably helping them more than they're helping us. But I think that's one of the things that's important for us to do. And some of the other agencies were having trouble matching the federal money they get. They don't have enough. They don't have a sales tax. They don't have any other local money, or what they do have is not enough to all the time always spend that money. We, of course, have the benefit of the sales tax program. So I propose that we do a swap with them. We give up our state money, which is about $660,000, if they would give us twice as much federal money. So this year would be about $660,000, so we're going to give that up. In exchange, we get $1.3 million in federal funds. So
You
yeah.
mentioned,
and we're doing that for a 3-year period.
You mentioned the matching funds for Shipwatch Square. In your budget, $26 million is built 50% on the sales tax, Charleston County Transportation Sales Tax, and the matching funds also. If the voters down the line decided to not approve future sales tax, what would happen to CARTA?
We'd have to cut service and curtail operations. I
don't know how you'd be able to operate.
Yeah, it would be incredibly difficult. And we do have a little bit of benefit from the standpoint we have overlapping half pennies. So if something happens to one half penny, we have something, but you'd have to make some drastic reductions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Mitchum. Next item, request to approve CARTA's fiscal year 2024 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moody and Mr. Boynton.
Yes, sir.
Boykin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we approve items A through J. I do have a couple of comments, but approve all items.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moody and seconded by Ms. Honeycutt. All right, you want to talk about
Yeah,
those?
just a couple of comments. I see Ms. Craig here. She's got 2 grants. Welcome to the party. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. Mr. Smalls, the King and Queen Street parking deck, the repairs, are there any is there any notion of raising fees to cover those expenses? Or do we, I mean, does the county use all that? I mean, there's some public that uses that. How are we going to pay for these improvements or these repairs?
They're coming out of the enterprise fund to do that.
I understand that, but would we consider raising the parking fees to recoup that money, or is it just go away?
Oh, we can talk with administrators, see how.
Okay. All right, and finally, just local tax allocations. I see Ms. Smith here from Explore Charleston. I'd like to thank them for their continued partnership. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Honeycutt?
Yes, sir. On item 4H, I just wanted to thank our Transportation Department. We had to rebid this because of some technical difficulties that came back in the bidding, and it has been a very complex drainage project in a very low-lying area of my district, but the department has been incredible, has done a ton of work, and that is sort of a precursor to the very much-needed sidewalk that's going in on Woodland Shores, and so we look forward to that work getting done with the award of this contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 5.
Move for approval.
Okay, is there moved and seconded, moved by Mr. Moody, seconded by Mr. Boykin, excuse me. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 6. HUD Cooperative Agreements and Amendments, request to approve.
Oh, move for approval.
Moved by Ms. Honeycutt, seconded by Mr. Moody. Is there any discussion? Mr. Moody?
Question, I guess maybe for Ms. Durant. The city of Charleston, I didn't see them listed in this cooperative.
Excuse me. Mr. Moody, they're a separate entitlement area, so they are not reflected in our HUD agreements.
Charleston and Mount Pleasant all are
They're
not
part of
separate?
ours.
Okay.
They're part of ours.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Number 7A, ARPA Priorities, Micro Business Pandemic Grant. 1A, request to approve, round 5.
I move to approve 7A and B.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Moved and seconded to approve 7A and B. Is there any questions? Oh, thank you, Mr.
I do have
Warren.
one question, Mr. Chairman. I seem to recall from reviewing this, I mean, some of these programs are going to have money left over. Am I correct in that? I might have misread that. I don't think it's both of them.
Mr. Worman, you approved 2 programs in the beginning. We received more applications through round 1 than there was funding in round 1. So what we're asking you to do in each of these is move money from the second program to the first. It's all ARPA. It's just the way we broke it out when we originally presented it to you.
Okay. Okay. I got it
Got
then.
it.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Recommendations from the Magistrate Oversight Committee. Ms. Honeycutt?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. First off, I wanted to thank, I think we had court administration here, for their incredibly difficult work in the challenge of figuring out how to apply the state funds that came in after our budget was approved to the allocation of our magistrates. We had a meeting earlier this week with the committee. 2 senators, Senator Sin and Senator Margie Brent Matthews, sit on that committee with us, as well as Mr. Werman and Judge Summey and Judge Singleton Brown. And we were able to come up with a net zero increase of hours, which results in a basic budget neutral reallocation and an assignment of additional, or there are no new ones except for the ones replacing judges that have retired, but more full-time judges, which is much easier for court staff and in court administration to manage than having multiple part-time judges who may or may not want to come into bond court on Saturday or who may not want to do nighttime work. And so these judges are incredible. It's a wonderful team. They get together now, and they're working very smoothly together, but much more full-time positions, which the state encouraged in its budget this year. And so that I don't think there needs to be any council action, but just an acknowledgement of those judges and who we've put in what positions. So that's available in the packet.
Y'all did a great job of matching up everybody with hours and locations, I thought.
I would thank Judge Summy for that and her staff. They were excellent.
I thought they did a great job, so thank you. All righty, I think that's our last item tonight. I thank everybody.
You need a motion.
Chair, before you.
I thought we didn't need
You
a
need a
motion.
motion to move the hours all around?
How do you want me to make that, how do you want it made?
Just
To
just
accept
move-
the recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I make it?
For staff recommendation.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Werman and Ms. Honeycutt.
Second.
By Mr. Boykin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Chair, before you adjourn, this is Kylon Middleton, the lone person on the virtual, platform. I would like to at least revisit the Administration Policy and Rules Committee that I know, there's a standing rule, or maybe it's our own, it could be a statute change, that council persons must be in person unless it's under some sort of emergency order. We are in a total different time, and recognizing that from time to time, council persons, as actively and engaged as they wish to be, there are times that we're away, but we can still be physically and in the spirit of literally serving our constituents, we can actually actively be a part of the meeting. And so to include voting and, making motions and, those type things, even in a virtual way. So I would like for us to really, I know we talked about it, it never really, moved at all, or maybe, it won't. But I'm just saying I would like to put that on the table again, because I found myself on more sides than not being on the virtual side of things and actively a part, but then being marked absent. And if you can check the record, you could probably always know that I'm not there. I'm virtual, except when I was very ill. And then the second thing, the MCE funding plan. Now, that is not, we've not had a presentation on that, nor has it been released to council. And I know the administrator is not here, but Mr. Chair, if we can get some indication as to when a presentation of that will be given to council and or to the public.
I'm sorry, I heard the first part, but I didn't hear the last part.
Clark funding.
Oh, okay.
Is it MTV?
Mark Clark.
Oh,
Right. That is something that we will be discussing, I assume, in executive session and then probably in public. But at this time, I think we're still in discussion with the SIB on that. We have not sent them we're discussing some figures and things like that with them. We have not sent them a formal letter or a formal plan, like the newspaper seemed to think that we had. And as soon as both sides are ready to discuss that, I think we'll be able to make all that public. So thank you very much. As far as the first issue, that would be something for the Rules Committee. And so we'll see what happens there. So thank you.
sir.
Thank you all very much. Our next meeting is Tuesday. I believe at 6. We'll start at 6 o'clock on Tuesday with a special housing meeting and then our regular county council meeting. So thank you all. See you next week.